The scalding water soaked through my blouse, making me gasp as Victoria's smug voice cut through the shocked silence of the dining room. Oops, my hand slipped. But really, I'm doing you a favor. That polyester rag belongs in the trash anyway. My name is Olivia Chin, and at 31, I just had my mother-in-law intentionally dump hot water on me during what was supposed to be a civil family dinner. I stood there, water dripping down my silk blouse. Not polyester, not that it mattered. Watching my husband, Marcus, shift uncomfortably in his seat without saying a word. Really, Marcus, Victoria continued, dabbing her mouth with a monogrammed napkin. When are you going to insist she dresses appropriately for these dinners? The neighbors were over last week, and I had to lie and say she was the help. I took a deep breath, remembering my therapist's advice about staying calm in the face of Victoria's constant attempts to humiliate me. For 3 years, I'd endured her subtle, and not so subtle, jabs about my humble background, my choice of clothes, my career. She never missed an opportunity to remind everyone that I wasn't from the right social circle, unlike her precious son's ex-girlfriend, Deanne. Mother, please, Marcus finally muttered, but his weak protest only fueled Victoria's contempt. Please what? Someone needs to tell her the truth. Look at her, shopping at department stores, working those ridiculous hours at her consulting job. What kind of wife are you trying to be? I almost laughed at the irony. My ridiculous consulting job had turned into a highly successful tech security firm. But I kept that information private, building my company quietly while Victoria assumed I was some low-level office worker. Only Marcus knew the truth, and even he didn't know the full extent of my success. You know what? I said, standing up slowly. You're right, Victoria. I don't belong here. She looked triumphant, probably assuming she'd finally broken me. Well, at least you're showing some self-awareness. Really, Marcus could do so much better. I don't belong here, I continued, cutting her off, because I've spent 3 years trying to earn the approval of someone who decided I wasn't good enough the moment she met me. Victoria's face reddened. How dare you interrupt me in my own home? After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me? I couldn't hold back my bitter laugh. You mean like the time you told the country club I was a scholarship charity case? Or when you accidentally excluded me from the family Christmas photos? Or maybe you mean today, when you deliberately poured hot water on me? Marcus stood up, finally finding his voice. Olivia, Mother didn't mean. Don't. I held up my hand, stopping him. Don't make excuses for her. Not again. I turned to Victoria, who was now gripping her wine glass so tightly I thought it might shatter. You know what the saddest part is? You've been so busy trying to prove I'm not good enough that you never bothered to actually know me. I know exactly who you are, she spat. A social climber who trapped my son. No, I said quietly. You really don't. But you will. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, pausing only when Victoria called out, if you walk out that door, don't bother coming back. I turned, meeting her eyes one last time. Thank you, Victoria. You've finally given me the push I needed. As I drove home, my wet blouse clinging uncomfortably to my skin, I made 2 calls. The first was to my lawyer, Emma. It's time, I said when she answered. Draft the papers. The second call was to my assistant. Jackson, remember that interview I've been avoiding with Forbes? Tell them I'm ready. And make sure Victoria Harrison gets a copy when it comes out. 3 years of playing small, of trying to keep the peace, of hoping Victoria would eventually see me as worthy of her son. It all ended with a pot of hot water and a ruined silk blouse. But as I pulled into my driveway, I felt lighter than I had in years. Victoria thought she'd finally put me in my place. She had no idea she'd just unleashed the woman I'd been holding back all this time. As I changed out of my wet clothes, my phone buzzed with multiple texts from Marcus, ranging from apologetic to angry. Mom's upset. Why did you have to make a scene? Please come back, we can talk about this. You're being dramatic? You know how she gets. I left them all unread. Tomorrow would be soon enough to deal with Marcus and his inability to stand up to his mother. Tonight, I had work to do. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to my board of directors. It was time to stop hiding my success. Time to show Victoria exactly who she'd been treating like a servant. The thought brought a smile to my face as I remembered the contract sitting in my pending folder. The one for acquiring the tech division of Harrison Industries, Victoria's family company. She thought she won tonight. In a few days, she'd realize this was just the beginning. The Forbes article dropped exactly 1 week after the hot water incident. I was in my office, reviewing acquisition paperwork when Jackson rushed in with a tablet. "It's live," he announced, grinning. "And your mother-in-law's assistant just confirmed she received her advance copy." I allowed myself a small smile as I glanced at the headline. Tech's Rising Queen. How Olivia Chin Built a $500 million Empire in Silence. The article was everything I'd avoided for years. A detailed profile of my journey from startup founder to industry leader, complete with photos of my sleek downtown headquarters and mentions of my company's numerous government contracts. The writer had been particularly interested in my decision to keep a low profile despite my success. "Some CEOs chase the spotlight," I told her during our interview. "I prefer to let my work speak for itself." My phone buzzed. Marcus, calling for the 100th time since I'd left that dinner. This time I answered. "Have you seen it?" he demanded without preamble. "The Forbes article?" "Yes, I helped write it." "Why didn't you tell me how successful the company had become?" "500 million, Olivia? And you let my mother treat you like—" "Like what, Marcus?" I cut in. "Like someone beneath her? Like the help? Where was this outrage when she was pouring hot water on me?" He fell silent, and I could picture him running his hands through his hair the way he did when stressed. "Mom's furious. She's been calling everyone, trying to figure out how she missed this. Dad's not speaking to her because apparently your company is the one buying out their tech division." "That's correct. The paperwork should be finalized tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" His voice cracked. "Olivia, you can't." "I can, and I am. Your father's been trying to sell that division for months. I'm offering a fair price, more than fair, actually. The fact that it belongs to your family is irrelevant." Just then, my office door burst open. Victoria stood there, face flushed, clutching the Forbes magazine so tightly the pages were crumpled. Her designer outfit couldn't hide how rattled she was. "I'll call you back," I told Marcus calmly, ending the call despite his protests. "You," Victoria sputtered, "you manipulative little—" "Mrs. Harrison," I interrupted smoothly, "do you have an appointment? My assistant usually notifies me about unexpected visitors." She slammed the magazine down on my desk. "Don't you dare play games with me. All this time you were successful? Wealthy? Everything you assumed I wasn't." I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the way she struggled to reconcile the poor daughter-in-law with the CEO sitting before her. "Please have a seat. We should talk about the Harrison Industries acquisition." "There won't be any acquisition," she snapped. "I won't let you destroy my family's legacy." I pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. "Actually, the board has already approved the sale. Your husband signed off on it this morning. 15 million above market value." He seemed quite pleased. Victoria sank into the chair, her bravado cracking. "Robert signed? Without telling me? Apparently he doesn't need your permission to make sound business decisions. Unlike my husband, who can't even defend his wife without mommy's approval." That hit home. Victoria's face darkened. "Leave Marcus out of this. He deserves better than your vindictive games." "Games?" I stood up slowly. "Like having hot water thrown on me at dinner? Like being treated as less than human in front of my husband? Those kinds of games, Victoria." I was trying to protect him. "From what? A woman who built a successful company from the ground up? Who loved your son enough to endure years of abuse from his mother? Please enlighten me. What exactly were you protecting him from?" Victoria's lips trembled. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not just fear of losing control, but fear of having been catastrophically wrong. "What do you want?" she whispered. I sat back down, straightening a pen on my desk. "Nothing. I already have everything I want. A successful company, respect in my industry, and the satisfaction of knowing you'll have to live with the knowledge of how wrong you were about me. And Marcus." I met her gaze steadily. "That's up to him. He can either start standing up to you, or he can keep hiding behind his mother's skirts. Either way, I'm done pretending to be less than I am to make other people comfortable." Victoria stood on shaky legs, her usual poise deserting her. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is. Jackson will show you out. And Victoria?" I called as she reached the door. "Next time you want to ruin someone's clothes, make sure you know who you're dealing with first." After she left, I let out a long breath. 3 years of pent-up frustration released in one perfect moment. Jackson appeared in the doorway grinning. That was better than any revenge movie I've ever seen. Want me to send up some champagne? I shook my head, already reaching for my phone as it buzzed with another call from Marcus. Not yet. There's still one more conversation I need to have. The day wasn't over, but the hardest part was done. Victoria finally saw me clearly, and more importantly, I finally stopped hiding who I really was. Whatever came next, with Marcus, with the company, with my in-laws, I would face it as myself, not the meek daughter-in-law I pretended to be. Marcus showed up at my office that evening, looking like he'd aged 10 years in a single day. He stood in the doorway, loosening his tie with shaking hands. "My father just sold our company's tech division to you," he said, his voice hollow. "My mother is having a meltdown at home, and my wife is apparently one of the most successful CEOs in the city. Did I miss anything?" I gestured to the chair across from my desk. "Sit down, Marcus. We need to talk." He sank into the chair, staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "Why didn't you tell me how big your company had become?" "I told you I was successful. You never asked for details. You were too busy trying to keep your mother happy." "That's not fair," he protested weakly. "Isn't it? Your mother threw hot water on me, Marcus. She physically assaulted me, and you sat there saying nothing. Just like you've said nothing for 3 years. He flinched. "I thought if we just gave her time." "Time to what? Realize I'm a human being worthy of basic respect? How much more time did you need?" Marcus leaned forward, running his hands through his hair. "I know I should have stood up to her. I know I failed you, but buying out my family's company, that's taking it too far." I pulled up a document on my computer and turned the screen toward him. "Look at these numbers. Your father's been trying to sell that division for months. It was losing money, and my offer was more than generous. This isn't about revenge, Marcus. It's about good business." "And the Forbes article? The timing is just a coincidence." "No," I admitted. "That was deliberate. I'm done hiding my success to make your mother comfortable. I'm done pretending to be less than I am to protect your family's feelings." He was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. "I don't know how to fix this." "That's the problem, Marcus. You always think something needs fixing. My success isn't a problem. Your mother's behavior is, and until you understand the difference, nothing will change." "What are you saying?" I took a deep breath. "I'm saying I love you, but I won't spend the rest of my life dimming my light to make your mother feel better about herself. Either you start standing up to her, or what?" His voice cracked. "Or we need to rethink our marriage." The silence that followed was deafening. Outside my office, the city lights twinkled as dusk settled over the skyline. Finally, Marcus spoke. "I've been a coward, haven't I?" "Yes," I said softly. "You have." He stood up abruptly, straightening his shoulders. "I need to go talk to my mother. Really talk to her, for the first time in my life. And then, if you'll let me, I'd like to come home and start being the husband you deserve." I nodded, feeling a mix of hope and caution. "We'll see." After he left, Jackson appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. "Now can we celebrate?" I accepted the glass, smiling. Now we can celebrate. The next few weeks brought changes I never expected. Marcus finally confronted his mother, telling her she either had to accept me as his wife or lose him as a son. Victoria, faced with the reality of her actions and a potential loss of her son, started therapy. The Harrison Industries acquisition went through smoothly, and Robert Harrison actually became one of my most vocal supporters on the board. "If I'd known my daughter-in-law was such a brilliant businesswoman," he told me, "I would have asked for your advice years ago." As for Marcus and me, we started couples counseling. Slowly, he learned to stand up for himself and for us. Our marriage grew stronger as he stopped trying to please everyone and started being honest about what he wanted. Victoria's transformation was the most surprising. After several therapy sessions, she asked to meet me for coffee. "I was threatened by you," she admitted, staring into her cup. "You reminded me of myself at your age, ambitious, independent. But I gave up my career when I married Robert because that's what was expected. Seeing you succeed, seeing you have everything, I gave up. I took my regrets out on you, and I'm truly sorry. It wasn't an instant fix. Trust takes time to rebuild, and old habits die hard." But 6 months after the hot water incident, we all sat down for another family dinner. This time, when Victoria spoke to me, it was to ask my advice about investing in a women's business mentorship program she wanted to start. As I drove home that night, Marcus reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not giving up on me, for being strong enough to show everyone who you really are. You didn't just change yourself that day, you changed our whole family." I smiled, thinking of the scared, insecure daughter-in-law I used to be. She wasn't gone. She was just part of a bigger story now. A story about standing up for yourself, about refusing to be less than you are, and about the kind of love that survives hard truths. That silk blouse Victoria ruined, I had it framed. It hangs in my office as a reminder that sometimes the worst moments in our lives lead to the best changes. And that success isn't just about making money. It's about being true to yourself, no matter what anyone else thinks.